Rebel News exclusive, Justin Trudeau's government is collaborating in a nearly $1 million Canadian taxpayer-funded coronavirus research project with the very Wuhan, China virus lab suspected as the source of the deadly plague, now shutting down the entire world. Justin Trudeau's government is funding a research project headed by Chinese scientists at the very lab many suspect is responsible for birthing the coronavirus upon the entire world. But first, we have to go back a little bit to put this all into context. Let's start here with this incredible piece in the Washington Post by Josh Rogan. In January 2018, the U.S. Embassy in Beijing took the unusual step of repeatedly sending U.S. science diplomats to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that's the WIV, which had in 2015 become China's first laboratory to achieve the highest level of international bioresearch safety, known as BSL-4. WIV issued a news release in English about the last of these visits, which occurred on March 27, 2018. The U.S. delegation was led by Jameson Faust, the Consul General in Wuhan, and Rick Switzer, the embassy's Counselor of Environment, Science, Technology, and Health. Last week, WIV erased that statement from its website, though it remains archived on the internet. What the U.S. officials learned during their visits concerned them so much that they dispatched 2 diplomatic cables categorized as sensitive but unclassified back to Washington. The cables warned about safety and management weaknesses at the WIV lab and proposed more attention and help. The first cable, which Rogan obtained, also warns that the lab's work on bat coronaviruses and their potential human transmission represented a risk of a new SARS-like pandemic. During interactions with scientists at the WIV laboratory, they noted the new lab has a serious shortage of appropriately trained technicians, and investigators needed to safely operate this high-containment laboratory, states the January 19, 2018 cable, which was drafted by 2 officials from the embassy's Environment, Science, and Health sections who met with the WIV scientists. The State Department declined to comment on this and other details of the story. The U.S. visitors met with Shi Zhen Li, the head of the research project, who had been publishing studies related to bat coronaviruses for many years. In November 2017, just before the U.S. officials' visit, Xi's team had published research showing that horseshoe bats they had collected from a cave in Yunnan province were very likely from the same bat population that spawned the SARS coronavirus in 2003. Okay, so this is a lab that collects deadly viruses that have already caused problems in the world, like SARS. And the Americans were so concerned about the shoddy conditions at this lab that deals with highly infectious and dangerous diseases in Wuhan, China, that they dispatched 2 science diplomats, which is something I've never even heard of before. And then these science diplomats were sending warnings back to Washington about the potential for this lab to cause a plague. So naturally, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is now engaging in a research project with this dangerous Chinese laboratory and relying on scientists on the ground in Wuhan, China to do all the research. But don't take my word for it. Let me show you. This is from the Canadian government website that lists a series of grants to study this new coronavirus. To contribute to global efforts to address the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak, on February 10, 2020, the Government of Canada launched a rapid research funding competition. Canada's researchers were quick to respond, submitting hundreds of applications in just a week. It looks like the Canadian government, in an effort to move fast instead of smart, seems to be giving Canadian tax money to, well, possibly the bad guys of the outbreak. Here's this grant headed by a researcher at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. The grant itself is to develop a form of rapid testing for the virus in places where resources are limited, like poor countries. It's a noble idea, but unfortunately it includes collaboration with what is possibly the researchers who are the source of the coronavirus disease. Look at this. This research addresses the urgent need of rapid point-of-care diagnostics of COVID-19. The collaborative research is conducted by a multidisciplinary team of virologists, chemists, infectious disease specialists, frontline practitioners, and public health researchers from the University of Alberta, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. Now here's the grant value, $828,000 and change. One more thing, look at this. Our team members in Wuhan, who currently perform the standard diagnostic tests, will lead this effort. So to clarify, these Chinese scientists, either loyal to the Chinese Communist state or completely muzzled by the Chinese Communist state or fearing being disappeared by the Chinese Communist state, and who are currently working at the virus lab that is likely responsible for the initial spread of the coronavirus, are going to lead the Canadian-funded research effort into rapid testing for the virus. China is one of the richest countries on the planet, if not the richest. China lied and covered up this disease. Here's the timeline of the cover-up in Business Insider. For 6 days in mid-January, China knew the novel coronavirus could become a deadly pandemic while it told the world there was nothing to fear, according to an Associated Press report published Wednesday. A memo of a confidential phone call with Ma Xiaowei, the head of the National Health Commission, and provincial health officials on January 14th, obtained by the Associated Press, said that human-to-human transmission is possible and that all localities must prepare for and respond to a pandemic. The Wuhan Health Commission said on January 14th, the same day as Ma's call, that it had not found proof for human-to-human transmission. At the time, the World Health Organization, which relies on countries to provide their own data, took China at its word and offered the same advice to other countries around the world. China did this to the entire globe. China is completely responsible for the plague that is now killing our old people, screeching national economies to a halt, and robbing free people in free countries of their civil liberties. China can pay for their own fake communist research at their petri dish of a lab. Canadians suffering from this Chinese plague should not. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and ring the little bell so you never miss a story from us. Now, the World Health Organization is a Chinese-centric organization. It republishes Chinese propaganda verbatim, and its bad advice have probably led to countless deaths. We'd like Canada to pull out of the World Health Organization. To sign our petition, go to whowantsout.com.